back to the Off-Grid family. Today we're going to talk about giant African land snails. These aren't actually my giant African land snails, they are lilies. But who looks after them? Muggins. So come and have a look. One's just woken up now. This has been left for like 2 days now. Water gets changed daily, but the little rascals like to attach themselves to the top of the lid, and I can't get them out all the time if they're like half on the glass and half on the wood. So I'm going to get them out and I'm going to transfer them into here. This used to be their old home when they were a lot smaller. I'm going to give them a little bath, get rid of all the soil off. And while I'm doing this, I don't bath them that often, just because they've got to have some sort of bacteria on them. But it's just a good way of checking their general health while you're doing it. You know, see if they come out of their shell, because they love a bath. If they come out, oh, he's having a little munch on there. And check their shell condition, see if they're happy. So as you can see, there's 2 different ones. Be careful. He's stuck to the cuttlefish, so he can come out as he is. Is he actually stuck? I'm going to try and get him off that if I can, because I want to... I'm not actually pulling him, I'm pushing the what's this, cauliflower leaf down, because I shouldn't actually do it. And there we are, he's not coming off, so that can go in as it is. Oh, sorry about your eye. Oh, poked him in the eye. Sorry, mate. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 7 in total. So all we've got there is just a plant pot, medium-sized plant pot, and I've just buried it in. And I like that then for their little hidey hole. So he's not actually, because it's got dirt in it, he's not actually stuck down to anything. It's just a bit awkward to get my hand in. Pull him out. This is also a good way not only to check the health of them, but it's also good to have a look, well, to get rid of the old food, which should be changed every 24 hours or so, depending on what it is. But it's also a good way of checking for eggs. I'll go into more detail now about their food and their general health and eggs and all this throughout the video. Fab. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move these out the way, the snails out the way for a minute, and come to the tank and get rid of all the food, get rid of the water. But you'll be able to see in a minute. Okay, so now I know that I've got the 7 snails, that I'm not going to hurt any of them if they're buried or anything like that. I know now that I can kind of really turn the soil. So this soil that's in here is called this. So the reason we use that is because we know that it hasn't got any pesticides in it or anything that's going to hurt the snails, rather than if you just take it straight direct from the garden soil. Like I know we do composting a lot, but there's a lot of bugs and other things in there though, and so that's why we use that one. So all you have to do for that is add water. It expands up to 40 litres, and this was the whole of the 40 litres, which is too much because you have to get the temperature. That is a bit too much for what we need, but I kind of thought I can't bother to take it out, so I've left it in. Okay, so this is just an old mushroom container. So we're going to get rid of any poo, any old food, like that is going to go. Now, I don't know if you can see, but this is old food. I don't know if I'll hold it still, whether you can see anything on it. Can you see the worm? Okay, I know they look absolutely disgusting and I absolutely freaked out when I saw them, but these are called Springtails, and they're actually good for your tank because they are the clean-up crew. So they will get rid of a bit of dying food, the decomposing bits of food that you might have left lying about, the bits of poo that's there. So yes, they're not very nice. You can control them by taking the food out more, and you can also replace. Now, when you're cleaning them out, if you do a deep clean, you never completely take out the whole of the soil. You would do half and half because the snails need some bacteria. That's good for them. So as much as those look disgusting, it's actually really good. And you can get basically like woodlouse as well. You can get other bits, which is the clean-up crew, but I didn't fancy them at all. At least those, they stay where they are. So yeah, I'm going to pick up the rest of these now, bits that I find. Get rid of the water. Everything always has not just one purpose in our house. So this is the pot I use for the snails, the yoghurt pot used for their water,
the flower pot for the cave.
Yeah. So, and then this is just a bit. Oh, look at the little fly. There's fruit flies are a pain in the bum. You have to kind of control them, and those are the ones that lays the eggs for the springtails. Okay, so now we've got all that. This needs to go into the kitchen, and then I need to rotate the soil. So let me just go and get rid of this, and I will be back. Okay, so all of that goes in the compost, and then I'll replace the water in a minute. But what I'm going to do now is, you can see this has gone a bit flat and stuff. You need to aerate, if that's the right word, the soil to stop like mould and stuff growing on it. So this is my little trusty thing that I've had since they were little. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to dig and rotate the soil. And then while I'm doing this, I can check for eggs, which we haven't had any yet, but we have seen some suspicious activity. So we could be getting them very soon. There's a little bit here, this needs to go. This is from the cress. I buy cress from the supermarket that I just wash off, and it lasts them a few days, and they like to bury themselves in it. But we do grow our own as well, and this time I've got some lettuce, which I'll show you in a minute, and then parsley's on the next rotation. So I like to leave it so they've got a bit of variety, because who would like to the same thing? Who would like to eat the same food over and over, week after week? Well, unless it was chocolate and cake, then I might be possibly up to the challenge. Anyway, so back on topic, because I always get distracted with cakes. If they were going to lay the eggs, they would bury themselves in, and then they would lay, and I mean they will lay loads. And things like the plant pot. So I'm going to check the plant pot, because they will. So no, all we got is food.
Hiding his midnight feast.
That's exactly what I do.
Is that why my pillow's always covered in bacon?
So I'm going to take this out, because it's good to rotate this too. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to re-hide the plant pot. Oh, stick some soil in it. So that always lives there. I just know where it is.
It's a little scrapey tool.
Yeah. So I'm just going to make some. I need to think where my water's going to go. I like to keep things more or less in the same place. They'd find it, but you know. So my water's going to go there. And then I need some bit for the cuttlefish. So I need a flat surface for the cuttlefish, even though they just pick it up and drag it around. but that's a rough idea. And then I got my veggies to go in there as well. So I'm just going to go and wash my hands because obviously you've seen the worms. It's very, very important to have good hand hygiene. So I'm going to go and rinse my hands to pick up the snails again. So I'm not actually going to use any soap at the minute because the soap will hurt the snails. So I'm just going to rinse them off, and then at the end then I decontaminate everything, spray everything down, give my hand a thorough wash and throw the towel that I've used. So
in the washing machine.
In the washing machine. If you come over to this side, if you can you see the bulge that's just appearing there? That there is, let's call it their naughty bits. Now, giant African land snails are hermaphrodites.
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 Basically, oh well, whatever. Basically, they're male and female. These are about 7 months old. And this is in the last week. This is the only first sign of activity that we have seen. We have had giant African land snails previously, but we've only ever had 1 or 2. We've never had them this many. This was kind of a bit of an accident, this many. But there we are, we've got them. So while they're here, we'll talk about this one here. These ones here came in one batch, and these ones here came in another batch. I can't say the name of them, so the name is there. They will reproduce at a real alarming rate. So unless you want thousands and thousands, and I mean thousands and thousands of snails, and them themselves will keep on reproducing, you have to cull them. Now, the way you cull them is you can put them in the freezer, you can crush them, and then you can feed them back, so the calcium can be fed back to them. The eggs, not the actual snails, but the eggs that they lay. Sometimes they lay them, say like I showed you just at the side, and they will stay there for a while and then they will hatch. But sometimes they will lay them and they will hatch within a couple of hours. So it's literally, they can be laying there for months, weeks, or it can be within a couple of hours. So I think once they're in their egg shape, they're a little bit easier to cull than what they would be if you can actually see teeny, teeny, teeny little snails, and they are so tiny. So yeah, that's basically, it's our own fault really, but we've got 7 of them. So it's one thing you have to be prepared for. If you've got giant African land snails, you have to be prepared to cull them to keep the numbers down. And you can't just throw them out in the garden because it's illegal, and they will literally destroy everything, because as you can see, these are small compared to the gigantic ones that you can get. So let's have a look at the shell now. So as you can see, there's a bit lighter. It's just where they've started to eat. So this one will come along and you'll have a munch on this one, because obviously this is all calcium. So it's really important that you have cuttlefish in there, and this is calcium for them. And that's what they're on there. Those 2 things there. So today, this has been in for a couple of weeks. I'm going to take out the old one and wash it off. And because it's still got some on, I keep them. I'll show you my little stash that I've got. I keep them just in case, because apparently there's a shortage of the cuttlefish. So you can make calcium cakes, which I've never tried, but I do keep the old ones that are not quite completely finished with, just in case I can't get any. So that's that. Here now, if we get him out here, breathing hole open. So that there is their breathing hole, and that's also where you would check for the eggs. So and let me just wet my hands, because you don't want to put them onto dry hands. And I'll say I haven't used any soap or any hand creams or anything, so it won't hurt them. So what you got here is you got the 2 eyes, then these are his feelers, and then it feels like a tingling sensation when he's on you. So I've got a bit of carrot. I wonder if he'll have some carrot. They're not keen on carrot, but he might be interested. Just so you can see him eating. If you come... Here we are, we might be.
Shall I tell him to hurry up because we're running out of film?
He's not interested in it, look, he's just sitting on it. So, oh no, he's going across my hand. So what you've got underneath is, that's their mouth there. And he'll open his mouth. And that's obviously how they eat. So, oh look, he's posing for the camera.
Say cheese.
These are
beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Loving it. Oh, you are stunning.
Look, I do think they look like old men, you know.
They walk like old men too, really bloody slowly.
So, right, these are gastropods, meaning gastro is one and pod is foot.
Gastro is stomach and pod is foot, from the ancient Greek.
There we are. So he's just working his way across there. They were literally spread out, and I think, how the hell do you get into that shell? So as you can see here, going back to the shell, here he had a bit of damage where the new growth came up, and it's the only way to describe it is, you know, when you have your nail and it splits off a bit and you've got the soft bit underneath, that's what it's like when they get new growth. So he got, I don't know how it got damaged in there. It could have, the other snail could have just come along and knocked it or whatever, but this is how it was. So this will never this will never repair itself, but new shell is growing and the shells are in good condition. So I'm going to give them a bit of a bath now. I don't use hot water, I don't use cold water. It's a bit like lukewarmish water, and they absolutely love it. So the way I'm just going to check it is I'm just going to like try that, and it's literally, I can feel the cold and I can feel the warmth, but nothing mad. So I'm just going to run him under the tap, get rid of all the slime that's on there. As I say, I don't do this often, once a month, once every 2 months, just getting rid of everything. It's a good way of checking to see if they've got any check their shell, their condition, and if they are in, they will certainly come out. Now if I go like this, he might actually go for it. I need to put it down a bit too, it's running too fast. They normally go up and have like a little drink. They're nice and cold. Turn him this way, he might go. He's having a little drink, look. I can try and get it round, you can see. Can't get it round. And you can feel it. It's, I say, it's like little, it's just like tingly type of rasping. They kind of rasp at their feet, but I don't know how it's. So anyway, that's him. Yeah, look. The scalp's done. Okay, so I'm going to do that now with all of them. A bit of a problem now because I should have sort of sorted out there. See, that's, I've just turned the cold top off, and that's the amount of hot water I had going through. Okay, what I have here, this is something that Lily's planted, lettuce and something else. It was just lettuce leaf, 2 different types of lettuce leaf. And we plant these solely for the snails. These are just, if you get like donuts or anything from the supermarket, we keep these and we use these as propagators, and it literally works wonders. So they just go on the windowsill. These have been growing now for a few weeks, and in this one then, which I planted a few days ago, has got parsley in it. So, and then the next lot then, I don't know, I might do chives or cress. So they'll have like, it saves me keep on buying it all the time, you know, that kind of look after itself. So there's nothing in this soil that's not going to hurt them. I know this is all organic, and if you do get them food from the supermarket, I always make sure that I wash it down thoroughly anyway. So with Snail in tow, he's going to get first dibs on all this. I'm going to go and put this in their house. I was going to say cage, but it's not a cage. So he is dying. I say he, could be a she. It's dying to get to it. So I'm going to have to put this down first. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig a bit of hole because I want to bury it a little bit. I've done it in the wrong order really. I normally sort out the tank completely with their food and then put them in last. So I've got to keep an eye on him. So, oh. He's fine. So, I watered these this morning because I wanted them to obviously keep them alive. Take them out. He's eating that lettuce. Basically, I'm going to plonk it in as it is. And I love putting the fresh stuff in because it makes it look, it makes it look like a garden, it makes it look, I don't know, it just looks nice. Bit of greenery. Okay, that bit of lettuce that I put in there, so I've stuck to his foot. So I'm going to put him up here because that's what I'm going to do with all of them. So they can have a good old munch on the fresh food. I'm going to go and change their water, put the water in, and then I can give them all a wash then and put them in, and then I can talk a little bit more about them. This one's a different one. So that one is a good comparison for you to see there. I wonder if he's going to go for a drink. And they are stuck fast to this cuttlefish, so I'm not going to take them off. And I'll wash them underneath. Okay, I'm just going to give them a wash. And I'm always careful of their breathing hole, that I don't get water in their breathing hole. So these can go in now, and I'm going to put this. So I don't think you have to wet it, but I like to wet it because for me it seems a bit dry. So this is the old cuttlefish that's been in there for a few weeks, and then this is the new one. This is going to go into the snail tank. So I haven't put the water in, have I either? So I'm going to put the cuttlefish over this side. Water I might have to move just because these are on the cut on here. I'm going to put this down here. They'll do a twirl and go on it anyway. Is he having a munch? So he is stuck to this, so break it off. There we go. This is just a cauliflower leaf that they've been munching on. There's nothing actually wrong with it. I only put it in there yesterday. Yes, Friday yesterday. So yeah, it's been absolutely fine. So we're going to keep it in there. Him done. Okay, these are on the old cuttlefish, but I can't actually get them off. So I'm going to stick it in around next time when they're off it, because they'll certainly go to the new one. I'll just take this one out then eventually. This one won't actually, they're all fighting for it. I could actually do with one each, I think. Okay. So that is that all washed. Fill up this pot with water. So this is where I've got nice fresh clean water, and then I pad it all in, and then I drop soil all back in the thing again. Don't I really mind. Oh, see, look, every time. Because my hands are wet. Okay, so these two are going to go down here, so they can work their way up there. leave. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the lid on before he tries to escape, because they've got everything that they need at the moment. Go on. So this is just the temporary lid at the minute. Okay, so that is how we clean out the snails. We, me, Mum. Okay, so our snails are about 7 months old, and when they come, they are tiny. Like, if you think of, like, I don't know, the end of a screw, they are super, super tiny. So when we had them, they came in, we put them in a little Chinese tub with a little bit of soil and just some, like, small amount of food. It would last a couple more days then. So with their food would go into their enclosure. You normally change it every 24, 36 hours, which I was doing, but because they were so tiny, it wasn't getting eaten. But these, I'd be lucky if that lasts them 24 hours. I come in the morning, it'll just be flat packed. So they go in there, and the reason you put them in a small tub is so they don't waste energy going from like one side to the other to get food. They probably die by the time they get from one place to the other. So they went from that Chinese tub then into the other tank that you saw me put them in, with the one with the black lid, and now they've gone transferred into this one, and depending on growth and everything like that, we'll transfer them into a bigger one then later on. The calcium that they have, they get it from the cuttlefish, eggshells. Some people give them eggshells. I said also about crushing down when they've laid eggs and giving them back. That's another way of giving them back calcium. So they also have protein, and the way that we give them protein is fish food, normal goldfish food. There's 2 ways that we do it: the fish food and this calcium mix or protein mix. So I've got it here, and I made a mess, look, with the thing. So I want to actually cover up the brand. So these can be fed to land snails and other invertebrates such as millipedes and hermit crabs. They say that this can be sprinkled directly onto their food, or it can be made into like a porridge mixture by just adding water. Now the reason I don't just sprinkle it on food, because then if they regulate their own calcium, so you don't want to give it too much. If I've sprinkled it everywhere, then all their food has got it. So the idea is, what I do is I just put it into these little tubs. I mix it into this one and then put it up. Plus, it is much better for them to have separate pods because there's 7 of them, so they're not all fighting for the same one. So normally I have about 3 on this one. And that way then, once they've eaten it or the day after, I remove it, so I know that their protein then they're not having too much. And then the fish food that it talks about is just ordinary fish flakes. That also goes into there, and just a little bit of water, and that gets fed, I don't know, once a week. I normally do about once a week, every 7 to 10 days I do that. Going back to when they were smaller, this was their water dish, and so they wouldn't drown, I'd put these at the bottom, not all of these, but
and not in the bag.
And not in the bag. I'd just empty these out, put some in, and like when they were little, most of them was just be that, and just have a little bit of water in it so they could have a drink. And then as they got bigger, I just slowly removed the amount of stones that I had until it was just that pot, and then I had to upgrade then to that one. And then these are the old cuttlefish. As I say, I've kept them because some, like that, I need to get rid of that one, but some of them have still got bits on, which I use them for emergencies. And then all this is kept then by the side of the snail tank, so I know that's all of theirs. Okay, so one thing I haven't spoke about is heat mats. Giant African land snails, titles is what they are, that they come from hotter climates. So they do need heat. So we've got a heat mat which is underneath the tank, and then they'll regulate that as it gets into the summer turn it down and stuff like that, so you need a thermostat. The reason that we have it as well, if we don't have it, you can get damage to their shells, so their shell won't grow properly. They will go into hibernation, so they'll retract themselves into the shell, and they will have like if they're not happy, they'll have like it's almost like a film type thing. It's like it goes flat. I can't show you because ours are fine. So and then they will either hibernate like that, or they will just, that's how they die. So a heat mat is something that is important for them as well. So that's it really. Giant African land snails, of what, taking care of them, what food they eat. I didn't say what they shouldn't eat, so don't put any citrus, any onions, anything like that, because that will hurt them. When you're handling them, make sure that you your hands are wet, or you can have gloves on, and make sure you wash your hands after and disinfect everywhere. Don't use any hand creams or anything beforehand, because obviously the whole of that foot is them and we don't want to hurt them. So if you like what you saw, like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.